Hello everyone, bonjour tout le monde. Welcome to EFA144 and it's Thursday, August 13th. Today what I want to talk about is the creation of underlying issues related to stress. It's all over the news, it's all over the world, it's all over the planet. The stress right now, the anxiety and so forth. But the underlying issues that are currently being created by all this, you're going to see the medical system. You're going to have a huge client base, and I'm going to get into that and why. And I've said this before, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a doctor, but I like to investigate. I like to look into things. I like to go into deep into the rabbit hole, right? And the creation of underlying issues related to stress, that's from children all the way up. All the way up. Doctors and psychologists, the data, the research, the information out there. Again, you don't have to be a doctor, you don't have to be a medical professional to do the research. But you got to look at the right research, you got to look at the right data, the ones that is backed by, right, medical papers and so forth. There's a lot of good research out there, but there's doctors and psychologists alike will agree that underlying issues and medical issues are created by stress, okay? And heart disease, asthma, obesity, type 2 diabetes, depression, anxiety. These are just some of the common big ones out there. Look at the medical system and all these things. Look at the medical system, obesity, how much I talk about my podcast and I go into the equality for all. Imagine if you had the equality of health living a healthy, vibrant, productive lifestyle, if you cleared yourself of all the poisons of the process and all that stuff. But look at the obesity, that world alone, that billion-dollar industry, right? The asthma world, I could see that, right? Underlying issues, stress, asthma, breathing, tight anxiety. I come from and I talked about this before, the cannabis space. And in the cannabis space, I used to deal with individuals that had anticipated anxiety. Okay, they wake up in the morning with anticipated anxiety. And these individuals, all these individuals in the cannabis space, when I was in that world, the opiate epidemic that you hear about, it's real. It is absolutely real, the opiate epidemic. The amount of pills that people are on is mind-boggling. Like, absolutely mind-boggling. So when you look at all these conditions here, the opiate industry, woohoo! I'm telling you, we are creating one hell of an underlying issue medical world going forward. And this is for the children ground up here. Man, you don't think of children right now, look, just thinking about school. The trillions of conversations that are about going back to school. How are we going to deal with this? You children, think about the anxiety and stress that you're creating in your children globally. Opiate world, woohoo! Right, let's keep going here. Health and wellness, right? And my mom and my sisters. I look at my mother who had Lou Gehrig's, right, ALS, and then in that she had the cancer, and I look at his sister that all these cancers 4 in a row now over the years, and not that many years. Life, I think it's what, 5-7 years now that she has 4 cancers in a row, and a lot of that I attribute to stress. They were stressful individuals, right? My mom used to make me. Here's a funny story of my mom. I was in a grocery store with her, and she's standing beside me at the grocery store. Here I am. I was a big boy all my life. So I'm like 14. I'm a mama's boy. Okay, I was a big mama's boy, and I'm at the cash register, and the woman said something for the tender transaction of the money, and I said, "Mom, this." All I said was, "Mom," my big voice. Well, she jumps and she does all like this, right? You should have seen the eyes of that woman in front of me, right? Thinking here I am one of those guys that pounds on his mother, right? So we laughed our brains off on the way out, and I was like, what was that? You made me look a mom abuser, right? And she was crying from laughing so hard, and it was great. But that stress level she always had, right? And she always would say things like that when the ALS condition started, it's because of this situation. Her doctor had died of cancer suddenly. Her daughter she had been seen for years, and she took it to heart. And she goes, that affected me, and that. So when she's talking about that, she was identifying stress moments of her life, and she probably felt those stress moments in her life. And if you look at epigenetics And epigenetics, it talks about, and I talked about the 4 top killers on Earth, and one of them is tied to your environment, right? What you're subjected to, and that's epigenetics, also and epigenomes. If you get into that research and the data, the underlining issues that we are creating right now, and I just talked about these things, and I look at my mom, my sister, the stress levels, and the type of conditions they had in their life, and both of them, like the 60s, my mom was in her 70s, my sister's 60s and the 70s, right? So when you look at that, these weren't old women. Women live beyond 70s, right? And so therefore, when you look at the average and the underlying conditions that are being created right now with the stress, everything all over the media space, and like the whole, all these controversies, and the sides are not even agreeing, and how we're going to get back to school, and you have the union groups disagreeing with the government groups, and all that comes to I'm not going to say boiling points, because it's not boiling points, but it creates a fog that everybody's in. Like everybody's in this continuous fog, and you're walking through it, and where the hell is the bright break of day, right? And that's what people want, so these underlying issues can dissipate. And that's why there's groups out there saying, let's get back to normalcy. And that's why guys like me say, okay, here's your rules, and here's your regulation, and here's your governing bodies, and here's your union bodies, and here's the people in between with the children and so forth. Let's all participate right now to put a mask. I don't like a mask. I hate covering my nose and mouth. Hate it, right? I've always had these breathing issues with my nostrils, that kind of stuff. And it's all my life. Deviated passageways, the whole 9 yards. My father got operated, my brother got operated, my friends got operated. I never got the operation. I don't want it because I don't know. Everybody that I know that had it didn't work, and I do have a deviation and all that stuff. But my point is, I hate cover because I feel it when I take off my mask. Right, that's the feeling I get when I take it off. So and when I have it on, I'm a high energy fuel burning furnace in here. So it's like I'm breathing very, very warm air all the time. It doesn't feel good. So I participate when I go in, like I said, when in Rome. So when I go to places that have rules and regulations, because they're enforcing their company's rules and regulations. So when in Rome, I'm doing that because those companies, they have no choice. Government will come down on them. Government will stomp them. They'll come down on them. So they have to have those rules and regulations. So therefore, that's why I participate. And then these school groups, again, these unions and governance, and they're going to put measures and procedures. They're going to put laws in place. So that's why I participate, and that's why I discuss with my daughter. That's why I participate. I don't like it myself. I truly don't like it. And what I don't like is the underlying issues that are going to be created now. And they talked about this, right? Like obesity is not an overnight thing. It's years of building it inside, and then the kerplunk effect starts, right? All these things, underlying issues, are years, and the years of stress ahead of us, of conversations that are going to be tied to this, is actually scary. It's actually scary, but it's going to be a very good medical system provider, a very good medical system provider. So for Equality for All 144 on this beautiful day, all right? Health and wellness. If you're like in Ottawa right now, Ottawa, Canada, gorgeous day, beautiful outside, right? In my shorts, and then when I talk about health and wellness, and when I'm looking, those are rose-colored glasses, remove the eyes of the horse. When I look completely clearly in front of me, and I don't predict the future, but I do think a certain way, and I put it together in a certain way. The underlying issues that are coming to cities and countries near you are coming, and it's going to be a buildup. It's going to be the top 4 killers on Earth. Top 4 killers. 2 of them is environment, which you're affected by basically your epigenetics, right? That's what it is. GuyPublicFigure, EFA144.